Well, welcome to another episode of Break Away from the Rat Race. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with Lili Thompson. Lili is a real estate investor and YouTube influencer. She is the owner of LiliInvests, which is a two-pronged venture focused on building wealth through real estate while documenting the journey along the way. So it's something that's very interesting. She came to the real estate arena via a career in women's basketball. From a star at Stanford University to a national champion at Notre Dame. Lili was also the 36th ever female member of the Harlem Globetrotters. That's pretty impressive. And Lili made a career transition into real estate, first by house hacking her first multi-unit property, and then went on to do all kinds of other strategies, which is something that's we're going to share. We're going to learn a lot about her journey and how she got to where she is today. Lili, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So, first of all, I love speaking with athletes, because the one thing that most athletes have, successful athletes like yourself, is that you have a sense of discipline. And that discipline is about consistency. It's about measuring and monitoring your progress and being focused and having a goal. And I think I'm seeing I've spoken to a few athletes, and this is their mindset. It is the way they behave and their attitude that is helping them be successful in real estate and honestly in anything they kind of touch. So how do you feel about that?
I agree with you. I think so much of my life as an athlete was like, this is the goal we're working towards. Here's the plan. Show up to practice or you're off the team. It's very much all in or all out. And I think that while hopefully I let some of that go in other areas of my life, I think it's definitely served me well in business and real estate, just kind of having that one track mind and let's do this.
Yeah. So let's talk about that transition. So working, Harlem Globetrotters, that must be fun to do. I've seen a few of their performances, and it's always very entertaining and fun and impressive. So how do you transition from something like that in the limelight and then into something that is more low light?
Yeah. Well, not intentionally. When I was with the Globetrotters, I was actually gearing up to get back on the road after a little bit of time off. And it was right at the start of 2020. And we all kind of know what happened then. And so things got shut down. And it was like, okay, maybe we'll get back on the road in a couple of weeks. And then that turned into a couple of months and et cetera, et cetera. And that kind of continued. But during that time, I had already kind of started the YouTube channel because I thought it was pretty cool. I get the chance to play for this organization. I get to travel the world. And so I was just posting here and there about my journey. And I was also getting my first multifamily property at the same time. And that was kind of yes, I'm interested in real estate. But the real thing there was that I just needed a place to live coming out of college. And I didn't necessarily want to rent because I was going to be on the road so much. So I figured if I buy a place and I can stay there when I'm in town, but whenever I'm out traveling, I can Airbnb it and it'll be fine. Yeah. And so then that was kind of something that was going on. So I was like, okay, let me make a few videos about that. And it just turned out that I never ended up going back to the Globetrotters as things kind of extended out with all of the lockdowns, but I was kind of enjoying the YouTube and real estate thing. And so that's kind of where my focus shifted.
Oh, nice. So that multi-unit property that you bought, how many units are there?
It's a duplex.
Duplex. Okay.
So 2 units. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great way to do house hacking if you're going to do it, because you don't have. I did house hacking a long time ago, and basically rented a basement in back up there in Canada, and yeah, I mean it was great for the revenue, but it was not great because we lost some sense of privacy. I mean, these people were coming, even though they had an independent door. It was kind of like they were still kind of coming through somewhat, and we were sharing kind of laundry facility and stuff like that. So yeah, so that for that reason, I mean, I was not very keen on house hacking, but when you have a duplex, I mean, you're
Yeah.
separate and
It's great. It's an upstairs downstairs duplex. So I live upstairs, so I don't have to hear like feet
yeah.
of the tenants above me. And we have separate entrances. And then the greatest thing was that it was still the same owner occupied loan. And so I was actually able to use that 3.5% FHA down payment. And I actually used a state sponsored down payment assistance program that was just for first time home buyers. It was like a 1-page application, and they ended up paying my full down payment for me. And I ended up coming to the closing table with $0 out of pocket because the sellers paid closing costs and down payment assistance paid the down payment. And it was just like the perfect storm, except for the fact that 2 weeks later, right after I closed, is when COVID hit and everything shut down.
Yeah. Wow. So, so you've done this, you would, and it was very successful, very creative. How did you find out about these other programs for help with the down payment assistance, for example? How did you find out about those programs?
Yeah, the best piece of advice I got from someone who was kind of a mentor, an older basketball player, kind of gotten into real estate, as so many athletes do, was to use like local banks rather than going to like a big national bank for my lending options. And so that local lender actually is the one that presented the idea to me and just said, hey, have you heard about down payment assistance? There's a few programs that I could enroll you in, we can apply to. So he's the one who told me about it. And I don't think that would have happened if I was just another line item at a big national bank.
Yeah. I was never in my entire life, I was never able to get a loan from these big banks.
Yeah.
Never, ever, not even for a car loan. Nothing. It was I don't know. My money is in there, but that's it. So, and then, so that's very interesting. So, so getting some information there. Then you are in the 2-unit apartment building, or your duplex and all that. And then, so what happens after that? Now you're COVID, you're basically locked down and in your brand new house. And so what happens next? What goes through your mind next, and what's the plan?
Yeah, I'd kind of gotten bitten by the bug, right? When I was looking for my house hack and I was like, oh, this real estate thing. And I was listening to audiobooks and watching a lot of YouTube channels. And that's when I came across wholesaling as a strategy where you don't necessarily buy the house and own it yourself, but like you kind of learn the entire process. And yeah, stuff was shut down and it was kind of just a good opportunity to try it out. I started out wholesaling on market. So not looking at, retail properties on market, but looking at those distressed properties that are like cash only investor specials. And just my decision was that I would make 100 YouTube videos and make 100 offers on a wholesale deal. And if I didn't like it after that, hopefully the pandemic was over and I could go back to playing basketball and move on. But before I got to either one of those benchmarks, I was enjoying YouTube. I had gotten my first wholesale deal, which got me $6,000. And I was like, okay, let's do this again. And things kind of just rolled from there until I decided to start keeping some of those wholesale deals for myself and taking on the renovations.
Okay. So when you started doing wholesaling is because you were trying to build on capital. You didn't have too much capital available. Okay. Yeah. So that's a great strategy. And I think, if you don't have money and you want to know and you want to do something about real estate, wholesaling is a great way to get started, because you can build your capital, and then at the same time you're kind of in the middle of the deal. You're kind of like, how to find opportunities, and on the other side you also know how to find buyers for properties and stuff like that.
Exactly. So and I'd always been frugal. So I had some money saved up. I had some money for the down payment that I didn't have to put towards the down payment. But I felt like, well, let me learn first before I risk that money.
Yeah.
Right. Going into those wholesale deals, it's like I kind of got all the way to the end and then passed it off to someone else.
Yeah.
And, even got paid for it. So that was kind of my mindset, is like, let me make some mistakes. And I did. And I posted about them, as I was documenting on the channel, but at least the risk of the mistakes wasn't my savings.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, the worst case scenario is if you back out of the deal and you lose your deposit.
Exactly.
But most of the time you don't even lose your deposit because you have some kind of contingency in place.
Exactly.
Make sure that you can get your money back. So, so that's kind of like a win-win on your side. I mean, you can't really lose on that. And the other advantage too is that as you move along too, like you mentioned, you kind of like understand a little bit the process, you minimize your risk, and then you kind of pass it on to somebody else who's going to do the renovations and finalize it.
Yep.
And then the next step, what was the next step after that?
Yeah, it was I had sent a deal to one of the buyers that I had been working with, and he was like, I'm kind of swamped this month. I have a lot of deals going on, but this is a pretty simple renovation. You could probably just keep this one for yourself. And I was kind of like, yeah, but I could make like 10 grand on the wholesale fee, which, is a great check to get. That's super appealing. But because I kind of had that connection with him, he said, well, just reach out to my hard money lender and see what he says. See if he'll give you the loan for it. And if you need contractors, I had been meeting contractors as I was wholesaling and stuff. So I kind of felt like I had a bit of those pieces in place. And when I took the call with the hard money lender, I told him, I kind of sent him a list of some of the deals that I'd wholesaled. And I said, hey, I haven't done these renovations myself yet, but here's what I have been doing. And at that point, it was about 10 wholesale deals. And he agreed to kind of give me 90% of the cash. So I have to put 10% down and 90% for the purchase and the renovation. And it was a very simple renovation. It wasn't a big one. Okay. But after I finished it, then I refinanced onto a 30-year long-term note. And that kind of became the first rental outside of my house hack. And then I was like, okay, let's build up, and kind of got into some bigger renovations from there.
Well, that's excellent. And so again, sometimes when you go to these hard money lenders, often they're going to lend you the money, or they're going to have a lower loan to value ratio. They were doing like 90% when you're getting started. Sometimes they won't even loan to you unless you have a track record. So this is great that you were able to leverage your wholesaling kind of like track record and say, I've been doing some deals here. I'm not new. And, so give me a chance here, and then kind of like get connected with contractors that, so that I think that's a great strategy and a great way to approach it.
Yeah. And they gave me a little bit higher of an interest rate because, it was my first deal. Yeah. But I also said, hey, you can call some of these investors that I've wholesaled to, and, kind of using their experience to say like, yeah, she did a good job, helped me kind of get that loan.
Oh, yeah. Kind of like a testimonial of some.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And then, so after that, so tell me more about this deal. So what was the purchase price? How did it go with the renovations and all the details?
Yeah, so I'm in Oklahoma, and so we're not like a super high priced market. And if I remember correctly, it was a less than $100,000 purchase price. It was somewhere around like $82,000 purchase price. And we had a renovation of $20,000. And pretty much what that went towards was like a new roof, sprucing up the outside a little bit with some power washing, and then kitchen and bathroom is really what I focused on. And then everything else we kind of just cleaned up and spruced up. And we ended up appraising, I believe, for around $130,000. So it was a relatively good spread. And again, a local, what do they call it? Like a local portfolio lenders who I went to for the refinance instead of a national bank. Yeah. And they were refinanced at 80% at that time. This was, kind of during COVID. So they were refinanced at 80% of that appraised value. Yeah. And that got me back everything I'd borrowed. It got me back my 10% down payment, and even like an extra like $1,500 or something like that, That's so it's crazy, like a perfect bird. Yeah, it's like you get paid to do it.
Yeah.
And during that,
you have an asset that's producing cash flow.
Exactly.
You have more money than you started with.
Exactly. And the great thing was they didn't even make me wait 6 months to season for the refinance. Wow. That's great. And so as soon as we finished the renovation, even before we finished the renovation, we ordered the appraisal, and really it was just like the appliances still had plastic on it and we still had to clean, but it was mostly done when the appraiser came out. Yeah. And so started that process, rented it out, had a tenant in there. And so it's been great. It's cash flowing, not many repairs because we, did the renovation before they moved in. And kind of that's just been the process that we've been repeating since then. Moved away from the hard money loans. And the great thing about having a YouTube channel is I get to network and connect. So now I have plenty of private lenders who actually have the money but don't have the time or knowledge to do their own deals. that kind of helped me to fund those purchases and renovations on the front end, and then I refinance on the back end and pay them back with their interest.
Yeah, private lenders are fantastic. I mean, this is what we're doing a lot of. We're working with a lot of private lenders for a lot of our deals, and this is ideal.
Yep.
So all right, so that's great. I mean, this when you do a deal like this, I mean, the one of the first deal that I did was in Memphis, and it was like that. I mean, we did purchase price, renovations, and then we were able to, when we did the refi, we got all our money out, and then we had at least $5,000 or $10,000 extra.
Yeah, that's crazy.
My mind was blown at that point. It's just like, how can that be? Like, I basically created money out of thin air, kind of thing. So Absolutely. That was phenomenal. And so what did you have any kind of because obviously you're a young woman. Did you have any problems, kind of like challenges around being, because I can imagine you go on the construction site and you're talking, hey, you need to fix this, you need to rip this up and all of that. Even I go on a construction site, they don't what's the word, respect me.
Yeah definitely. I think and I'm the type of person where I kind of laugh it off, and I'm doing enough deals now that I work with consistent contractors. But I remember one time I was standing at the job site, and I was waiting on someone to come give a quote, and a couple of other contractors were also around, all guys. And this guy kind of walks in, and he goes to all of the other contractors saying like, hey, are you in charge? Are you in charge? And they all keep pointing at me saying like, no, she's in charge. And then he just ignores them and asks another guy. So that was kind of funny. He didn't get the job, but but just little things like that. And it's actually nice now that my brother works with me and helps me on the real estate side. It's always funny when I go to get a quote from someone, I get a higher estimate than he does for the same job. But it's all part of the business and human nature, and just when you find a good contractor, to stick with them. Yeah, exactly. All right. So obviously you must have got the bug at that point. You say, wow, this is amazing. Let's do more. So what happened after that? What did you decide to do after that? Yeah, we kind of just kept doing more of those either on-market distressed properties or pocket listings from a real estate agent before they put the distressed property on market. And that kind of got going and worked really well. And we've built up to 12 units in the portfolio now. But the next big thing was going off market and trying to get some small apartment buildings. So our goal was like 5 to 50 units, and we sent out a direct mail campaign, and we ended up going under contract for a 33 unit deal, which was a ton of fun to, underwrite and go see it. And I got to make, videos for the channel about it. But that deal fell through because of a couple of different things. But that was my first time like doing a really big deal like that. Yeah. And that's good, because I think you basically gradually increase your confidence level and doing, first wholesaling, putting like $1,000 in earnest money deposit, and then make some money out. I said, oh, this is great, this is working. And then your first house, and then making that work. And now you want to get you did a few more. Your confidence is increasing. You go for an apartment building. And so what was like the down payment just for that 30 unit apartment building? So it's a $2.1 million purchase. So we put down 1%, so 21,000. Yeah. And I remember I was writing that check. I was like, this is the biggest check I've ever written. And we had a contingency period, and we ended up, it was a mutually agreed back out with the seller. So we ended up getting that back, but my hand was definitely shaking as I wrote that check. Yeah. That's so, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is that, you're putting now you're getting into the bigger properties. You have to put a significant amount of money in down payment. You do your due diligence. Obviously, that's going to cost you some money to send some inspectors and all of that. So there's some money that is going to cost you to do your due diligence. But the thing that's important, I think, to note is that
at the end of this, if this is not working out, you have contingency in place and you get that earnest money deposit back, as long as you do it at the right time, you know.
Exactly.
So people should not be afraid and say, well, I don't want to lose it, I'm going to lose it and stuff like that. No, you have contingency in place and you can get that earnest money deposit back. So
Yep.
that's good.
Yep. And there were a few things when we did those inspections, with like the age of the boiler system and the condition of some of like the windows. It was just some safety things or some maintenance things that kind of made the deal less appealing. And like you said, I had already learned about those contingency periods when I was wholesaling. So we did spend some money to have like the inspectors come out, but I feel like that was worth it before diving into doing the whole, purchase.
Yeah. No, so that's great. Definitely, you want to
Yeah.
be.
It's money well spent.
Yeah, absolutely. So what happens after that? Did you manage to get any kind of like apartment buildings after that, or how is the market in your area?
Yeah, so not yet. We are still actively looking, and we've done some marketing and looked at a few, but we haven't gone back under contract yet for a multifamily. But a few actually mobile home parks have recently come, through the marketing. And so I think we're kind of just in this place of deciding like, what are we really going for? Mobile homes, apartments, and of course, there's been so many changes in the markets and interest rates are going up and stuff like that. So it's definitely a time where I'm trying to figure out what's next.
Yeah, exactly. So a mobile home park, I think this is I've never done any mobile home park. I think the numbers look great, and I think also the different exit strategies or different ways to do value add, especially if there's additional space, if there's additional the vacant lots and stuff. You can do all kinds of things that's very interesting in terms of value add that's harder to do, I think, on the apartment buildings.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to add, like in most cases, to add like additional apartments or additional units.
Right.
But on a park, you can definitely do that.
Yep.
So this is good. Yeah. So what are you looking at in terms of to make your decision, whether you're going to go mobile home park, whether you're going to go for apartment building, whether you're going to go and focus on single family rentals?
Yeah.
So what is your thinking process? What are you looking at to help you make the decision?
Well, one, I don't think we want to focus too much more on the single family rentals, just because they're very involved in terms of like the maintenance and things like that. And it's fine. They're all still good investments. But I think that with having 12, if I can imagine having hundreds, like, okay, maybe I don't want to deal with that too much. So part of me is interested in like the note investing. And I was watching a previous episode of your show. So because I feel very confident in the marketing for single family homes on market, off market, I'm thinking, well, what if we go that route and try to secure some notes and some properties that way? So that's one thing I'm considering. And then the other thing is just, it would be fun and cool to show on the YouTube channel, like getting an apartment building. I feel like most new investors, that's like a holy grail to one day get to. So part of me wants to go that route just to see if I can make it happen and kind of show people the journey the same way I've done with like these other strategies.
Yeah. So so whenever you're looking at your investment, you're also looking at kind of like what would be good on your resume and on your on your channel.
Yeah, it's true. A huge part of the LiliInvest business now is the channel and like the content that we make and the new investors that we help. And that's always been like from the very beginning. I do my first day of wholesaling and my first YouTube video like on the very same day. So it's always played together for me.
Oh, that's nice. Very nice. And I think that's a great idea, because you are really sharing kind of like your money. That's what you're doing, sharing your journey, investing like from day one. And then, so when you get started, I mean, there's no hiding.
Yeah,
you just
absolutely.
do this and I said, yeah, well, I woke up late or something like that. Or I didn't get it, or I lost money. You can't just go and hide things, because people are following you and they're going to decide, okay, well, what happened to that other house? And
Yep.
so
I think that's something that people really like about the channel, is that there are plenty of videos that are, I lost money on this deal, or I ran my numbers wrong, or my buyer didn't show up at closing. And those are the things I think that scare people about getting started. So if you can see how someone else dealt with it before you get into that situation, it kind of makes it easier for you to get started.
Yeah, I think so. I think because I think there are a lot of fears. And fear is a very, very strong emotion, as you know. So yeah, so I think that the fact that you can see someone else go through these transactions and then say, yeah, oh, this one didn't work out, but then I got my money back, you know. And I did this one, it worked, and I made some money. You want to see kind of like everybody is super positive.
Yeah.
All the other channels, everything is always working great and always working, you know, 100% return and all that.
I wish.
And, right. But I think your channel and your journey, I think it's more realistic, and there are some things that don't go so well.
Yep.
And then they can see it and say, yeah, it's not the end of the world. I just keep going. I have my money back, and I just keep going.
Absolutely.
I think that's a very good idea.
Thank you.
So your channel is LiliInvests.
Yep.
That's what it's called. So that's the best way for people to look for it.
Yeah, you can find me LiliInvests on YouTube. We also post on Instagram and TikTok, but YouTube's the main place to like really dive in and see what's happening with the deals.
All right. Okay. Excellent. What's any kind of like hint as to where you're going next with your show and your investing?
I definitely think we're going to try to send out another round of marketing and try to hook a big fish somewhere, 5 to 50 units. Maybe it'll be a mobile home, maybe not. But I've recently connected with some partners, like you were saying, some private money lenders who actually want to get out of private money and get into partnering on some bigger deals. Yeah. So that gives me some confidence and some capital to go for it. And I, of course, think it would be pretty cool to show.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm gonna look forward to your next episodes and see what you're doing next. So it's gonna be very interesting.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So Lili, it was a pleasure speaking with you, and
you as well.
Good luck.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. It was great speaking with you.
Thank you for listening to Break Away from the Rat Race with your host, Eric Martel. If you want to share your story and experience with our listeners, please message us on Facebook at Break Away from the Rat Race. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and our podcast on iTunes.